Steven McDonnell, former Armagh senior footballer, and of course you got that All Ireland as well. How's things with you, Stephen?
Not too bad. Just delighted over the last couple of weeks to finally get back on the GAA fields and back doing what we love doing, which is enjoying sport.
Exactly, yeah. There's been a lot of, especially now, there's been a few Armagh games as well. There's been a lot of games between TG Carr and the GAA putting them up. There's plenty to watch as well over the last 2 months or so.
Yeah, there's been plenty of good highlights. You often watch them, particularly when you're involved in them, and you often wish that you're back in those great days again. But what I always say to any player playing club or county football now at the minute, enjoy every minute of it, because your career really is over in a flash. And I when I was, I suppose, stuck in the storm that was county football and club football, you don't really think of it like that there, but it just goes too quick. So it does. It definitely does. And I was actually, there was a journalist rang me earlier on this morning for an interview, and he was saying to me, "Do you know what you were doing 15 years ago today?" And I said, "I couldn't tell you." I knew. I said, "Let me think. 2005, 10th of July, definitely Ulster final." He says, "Yeah, it was the drawn Ulster final against Tyrone 15 years ago today." So, I can remember that game clearly. So I can, but it's just hard to believe that it was 15 years ago. And it's great days and great memories. But definitely enjoy when you're able to play and participate in sport. Enjoy every minute of it.
Exactly, it does fly. I think I saw yesterday as well. It could have been yesterday, the day before. It's 13 years since Sligo won the Connacht title as well. Which
seen that actually, yeah. I think it was yesterday, yeah.
That's a long time coming for a second one now. But even as you said there, about your career kind of going by in a flash, there's a lot of fellas, I'm sure, that whether they're club or county players, that say they would have said this year they give it one more go, and then this happens, the whole lockdown and pandemic, and it's kind of, for some of them it'll take that year away from them. For others, they'll just go for another year anyways. But it is
exactly. And you can also look at it the other way. Maybe guys or girls that are contemplating retiring have had a new lease of life in the last couple of weeks, and we're seeing them back on the football pitches as well, and that's brilliant too. But I suppose when you play for a long period of time and you have had enough, it's hard to, I suppose, instill that drive to get back on the football field. But definitely over the last couple of months, what I believe and what I think is that most teams throughout the country have had a huge improvement on the numbers that's attending training, because I suppose what the last 3 or 4 months have shown and proven to us is that GAA is very much to the forefront in terms of our love for sport here in Ireland, and it's hard to do without it. And when we haven't got it, you miss it a lot.
Big time. And on the return to sport as well, I know everyone has their own different opinions on it. At the same time, everyone loves seeing football back. In terms of yourself now, were you surprised at how quick the GAA moved in comparison to their earlier plans were to leave it a bit later, but like things they just seem to come back all of a flash. I think, is it the 17th or no, the 20th of July, dressing rooms will be back open. The weekend, the 17th, games are back on.
Yeah. Well, no, I think the GAA have been very careful and cautious from the offset in terms of the pandemic, and they were one of the first sports to put a halt totally and close the gates of all their facilities as well. So I think they've been well advised in terms of bringing their plan forward, and I think once they're doing that, it's safe for players to get back participating in the games. And obviously there's strict guidelines that we all have to adhere to, which is very important. But with less and less cases being announced on a daily basis and less deaths, I think it is more or less safe to say that we can get back, and it's great to see that we can get back enjoying what we do, and which is participating on the field, as I said earlier on.
Exactly, and there's people just that eager to go to games. I know there's a lot of games going on up here anyways. You'll have Sligo, Mayo teams playing challenge games and that, and there'll be more crowds actually at challenge games than there would have been at a league game, had things gone ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, when you're in lockdown and you're walking past your GAA grounds and you see a big lock and chain around the gates. All you want to do is go and break it and get yourself into the pitch. And I walk past our own club grounds often enough with my dog during lockdown, and I've often said, what I would do now to go in there and watch a game, any type of game, whether it's under sixes all the way up to senior level. And I think once we get the opportunity to get watching games, whether it's challenge games or competitive games, there's going to be a huge influx of people looking to see it, because it gives them something to do and something to enjoy watching, and brings it all back, the importance of sport again. It's very much to the forefront of a lot of people's lives, and what they talk about on a daily basis as well. And it's I can only imagine that it is going to attract good crowds, hopefully in a safe manner, but it'll be good to see football back.
That's it. And I'm just, you're kind of expecting, I know there's a lot of people saying, we've done well with the virus and everything. There'll probably be a second wave coming, but it's going to be interesting to see how the GA deal with that as well, because it will happen. I think, did I hear it happen down in Cork or something? There was, it's on these WhatsApps flying around that there was a game, or there was a house party, and lads from 2 clubs were at the house party, and then them 2 clubs went and played challenge games against 2 other clubs or something. And it's kind of, one of the teams anyways has stopped all trainings and games until all the players yesterday. I think the Sunday game had it up there yesterday. But them things will happen as well, as long as they don't shut down the whole country based on.
Yeah, well, listen, there is a responsibility in every club to stick by the guidelines, to make sure that each and every team that's going out onto the field has their COVID officers, and that every parent has a responsibility as well, that they are adhering to those guidelines too, and that their kids are adhering to them. And it's important that we are allowed to continue to play and to train without the fear of possible lockdown again. But that's only going to happen if everyone does the right thing. And we have done the right thing over the last 3 or 4 months, so continue to do that.
And how are they working it so above in Armagh? Because I saw, I think it was Humans the GA, one of them had it up. They actually had the championship plans for every county. So have they changed things in Armagh to suit the lockdown?
Yeah, well, over the last couple of years in Armagh, the senior championship has been like a league base, groups of 4, and depending on where you come in the league, will determine, I suppose, your next round of fixtures. But it's straight knockout now, which is good. That's what I love about championship football. I believe every county should have straight knockout. It appeals to me a wee bit more, so it does. I probably grew up more used to playing knockout championship football, and thankfully Armagh have opted to go down that route. I think in one-off games, you can always have the I suppose opportunity for upsets as well, and they've split their leagues as well, which is good. It's down to, I think, maybe groups of 8 or something like that there, so each team's getting a minimum of 8 games, 7 in the league, and at least 1 championship game. So it is good in that sense that the season is compact. We know when the season is going to end across the board in terms of club football, and you've got to make the most of it, and you've got to limit the games there. But when I'm saying limit the games, there's regular football, and what I like about it is most teams, in terms of the ratio of training sessions to games, is well reduced compared to norm. Normally we're used to maybe 4 or 5 training sessions to 1 game. Now it's probably cut to 2 training sessions in 1 game, and that's what I like. You want to be giving people, as many players, the opportunity to perform in game time as you can, and I think that's only an opportunity to further improve the skills of our players.
Definitely, and I know the way they've done it now up here. They've scrapped the league altogether. It was proposed that they play 2 league games. I think it was 2, but they've scrapped the league and they've gone with the Kieran Cup, which I suppose like an O'Byrne Cup sort of thing, right? The 1 2 league. They've gone with that. That's only a 3-game thing, anyways. And then you've got 2 groups of 5 for the championship. Top 2 in each go through to semi-finals. So it's going to be 10. I think it's about 10 weeks worth of games. Every club is in that 10 weeks, but it's 10 weeks worth of games, and all at neutral venues as well. So there'll be plenty of crowds and everything. The help of God, now there'll be plenty of crowds. But definitely loads of people looking forward to it. But we'll go back a few years in time now to to 2002, which I suppose Armagh's, when you think of Armagh football, you think of the All-Ireland winning year in 2002. I watched the Kerry game. I watched the final there only a few weeks ago. I think it was either official J page or TG Card that had it up, and I watched bits and pieces of the Sligo game as well. Yeah. Coming into that, you obviously had won your Ulster titles, but was there a certain point in the year, or was it the start of the year, where you said we're going to win in All-Ireland?
We were probably fortunate enough that we had been knocking on the door for a couple of years before 2002. And 99 we won Ulster. It was the first in 17 years, and then we won it again in 2000. And Tyrone beat us then in 2001, but we had a good run in the back door. And the teams that managed to beat us in those 3 years were the teams that eventually kicked on and won the All-Ireland. So we knew we weren't a million miles away. I suppose from our point of view, Joe Kiernan came in and just give us a new lease of life. He instilled a wee bit more confidence into the team, and we had that belief that we were going to, be successful under Joe. So we did. He had brought a huge amount of success in terms of what he had done and achieved with Crossmaglen, and he came in and he put everything in the pathway for us to be successful, to just concentrate on playing football. And that's what it really was all about. We worried about playing football. He worried about all the nuts and bolts behind the scenes. And, we were drawn with Tyrone in the first game, and that was a massive, massive test. Like, the reality was, back then, ourselves and Tyrone were the heavyweights of Ulster, and heavyweights in Ireland as well, in terms of football ability, where the teams were at, and they had won the National League, so we probably went in as slight underdogs. So for us, it was a case of getting the result in that game, and if we could get the result in that game, then it would instill a huge amount of confidence in us as a team to kick on and set our sights on not only an Ulster title but greater things.
Yeah, and like as you said there, with Joe coming in, and then with the run of games, I suppose it's I suppose in some people might have it in the back of their mind. They're like, it's getting to that next step. Was there one game you overcame that you think was a turning point in terms of? I don't know. I'm probably wording this a bit weird, but you were saying there how Joe kind of instilled it from the start that you were going to go and push on. But was there one game in that year that you think just something just clicked and you just knew straight away you were going to do it?
Yeah, well, I don't think there's any one game in particular. The more games you win and the more teams you beat, you're getting that step closer, of course. But the first round game definitely was a huge driving factor for us. We beat Tyrone. They were National League champions. They were a young developing team coming up, full of players who'd won under 21 All-Irelands. And, that was a massive stepping stone for us in terms of kicking on to win Ulster. Once again, after we beat Tyrone, I was confident that we were definitely going to win Ulster. And that's not taking anything for granted or taking anything away from Fermanagh and Donegal, who we had beat in the semi-final and final that year. I just felt that we were definitely a better team. And we done that, and we went and achieved that. The next biggest obstacle that we had to overcome was getting to Croke Park and eventually winning a game. We had knocked on the door a few times in the years beforehand, and we always went up to Croke Park and came down the road defeated. So it was a case of getting there and getting the result. And a lot of the media talk around that team was that we couldn't win critical games in Croke Park. So we had to, I suppose, prove a point wrong and get that right result. And the first day out against Sligo in the quarter-final, it was looking to go our way, and then Sligo had a run of form towards the end of the game and definitely should have knocked us out. There's no doubt that was an opportunity missed by them, and one that we'll be forever grateful that Darragh McGarty fisted the ball over the bar and didn't go for a goal. But that was a game that we definitely had confidence that we were going to go to Croke Park and finally win a game, and we ended up drawing the match, and the game was then taken to Navan, and we won the replay, of course. But it was just a case of getting the result in Croke Park, doing what we had to do, and keeping the drive forward towards winning All Ireland.
I know this is a this is more of a Sligo-based question, but do you think if Sligo had beaten Armagh that day, would Sligo have gone on to win the All-Ireland?
No.
No.
No. I think Dublin would have beat them. And the reason why I say that is we were a more seasoned team than what Sligo would have been. Dublin had serious momentum throughout that campaign. They were really on a crest of wave in terms of the support that they had rallied behind them and how they were playing and performing, and they were really playing and blowing teams away. And I think they would have done that to Sligo because Sligo weren't as seasoned as what we were at that particular time. We had gone through the 3 years of heartache before we actually reached that point. And then when we, I suppose, went on and played Dublin, we were very much a strong-minded team, and no matter what they threw at us, we were going to be able to withstand it.
Yeah, I suppose to go to the next question. I know plenty of. I tried to bring something different into these podcasts, into these interviews, because I don't want people answering the same questions over and over about their career. But something that I've been talking to different people about, spoke to Enda Smith about it before, and Joe Sheridan as well. And it's about the Railway Cup and the way that has just been gotten rid of in the last few years. And obviously you would have played it quite a bit in the early 2000s and to the late 2000s yourself. It's something when you look back on it and you look at some of the teams, whether it's on, there's plenty of articles, whether they be RT or whatever, that have articles showing the two teams, whether it be any of the provinces that go up against each other. It's I suppose like the All-Stars in the NBA or something. It's just best of the best in the country. Do you think there's place for the Railway Cup had they structured it right?
Yeah, it would need to be structured right and played at the right time of year. The unfortunate thing with the Railway Cup, and I know, maybe 30, 40 years ago, it used to be played on St. Patrick's Day in Croke Park, which definitely would have been a huge attraction. And maybe that opportunity might be there for it now, again, in the years to come, because the club finals have been brought forward. But, from a player's point of view, while it was a great honour representing your province and coming up against the best players, it was always played in November time. My experience of playing in the Railway Cup was always played in November time, and it's not the best time of year to be playing, I suppose, football at that type of level. You're not going to see the best in the players as well. Players play and perform at their best when the ground is a wee bit firmer as well. And you're expected after a long enough season to maybe travel to the middle of the province and put in training sessions and then go out and represent your province as well. And it is a massive, massive honour. Any team that you get to represent, you always take the opportunity with both hands. But I just think the timing of it has got to be right. So it does. It's got to be. There's no denying that there is a place in it. I played in it where it was played over a weekend, and I think that's a good idea for it as well. Where semi-finals have been played on the Saturday and the finals on the Sunday. So I think that could be an opportunity to be looked at as well. But as I said, playing it in November, December time isn't appealing to players.
So I remember, was it around 2010, I think? I'm not sure. You could have been playing. It was Ulster and Sligo, or Ulster and Connacht. It was in Markievicz Park. And I think Connacht had a full forward line of Conor Mortimer, Michael Meehan and David Kelly, who was on fire for Sligo at the time.
Yeah.
And there was, in terms of a crowd, there was probably between backroom teams and panels, there was probably more on the pitch than there was in the stands watching.
Yeah.
Like just the crowd wasn't there. And even that was something that Joe Sheridan even said himself. He said the crowds just weren't coming to anymore. Like even media and stuff, it wasn't getting the recognition it should have got, but it was dying out all the same.
Yeah, and I played in the final in Croke Park against Leinster. I think maybe around 2006-07 time, and I would say there was maybe 150 people at it. So that in itself gives you an idea of what people thought of it. But say, listen, players always want to. First and foremost, as a club player, if you're good enough to represent your county, that's what you want to aim to do. And then when you're playing county football, if you feel that you want to take your game to the next level and play with more players from other provinces or other counties, Railway Cup is the next step, and you want to represent as many of those teams as possible. But the timing has to be exactly right for a competition like that there, because there's no point in playing it where there's no crowds, and there's no people enjoying it. No players really enjoying it when it's played at the wrong time of year, and that's it.
Definitely, yeah. And there's even if they went, I suppose, take it a year on, year off thing with the international rules, and that's something else that I'd like to talk about in a few minutes. If they went with a 1 year Railway Cup, 1 year international rules, I know there's still a lot of football. There's a lot of county players that'll be playing Sigerson Cup and just about back to play with their clubs as well. But even if it's something like that, to have it a year on, year off, because it's not only is it interest and crowds, it's burnout as well.
Yeah. Well, listen, it's hard to know exactly how you would work with that there year on, year off, or if it would be a success or not. If you're trying to, I suppose, reinvigorate a competition like that there, I think it would need to be played on a yearly basis for a period of time to see if it generates any amount of support. In terms of, and I've been fortunate to play both provincial and international rules, and in terms of generating crowds to the games, and a lot of people aren't fans of the international rules, but by far the international rules outweighs the Railway Cup in terms of generating an income for the GAA, but also attracting crowds and something for the crowds that turn up to enjoy watching. It's a different game, but it's something for them to enjoy a wee bit more.
Definitely. And on the topic of the international rules, I know you had a good few years playing it yourself, but just in terms of the GAA at the moment, there's the rule changes every year to the game. Is the game of Gaelic football getting slowly and slowly more like international rules every year?
Yeah, I'm not enjoying the rule changes at all. I'm managing the team at the minute and trying to coach the players to play to these rule changes. Sometimes can be a wee bit difficult, but also you're passing a lot more responsibility onto the shoulders of a referee. It's hard enough to officiate a game as it was without adding more complications to it. And at the end of the day, we want our game to be played as fast as we possibly can and at a high speed. The attacking mark, for instance, slows the game down. So it does. In the international rules, it's a fantastic rule. So it is. It gives you that opportunity to get a wee pocket of space, and if you make the mark, then you've got a free kick. And 9 times out of 10, the GAA player will kick that ball over the bar. But in our own game, where an inside forward, for talk's sake, is more used to coming out and winning the ball and straight away either laying it off or taking a man on, to have to hold his hand up and wait for the referee to reward him a mark, it's just slowing all the way down. And the fact that you've got 15 seconds to take that kick nowadays plays into the hands of a team that wants to run the clock down as well. And I'm not a fan of the rule changes that have been implemented, and I would certainly love to see the mark being done away with. I have no problem with the mark out the field in terms of a kick out. That's really not slowing the game down too much, but the attacking mark will eventually slow it down, because coaches and managers will be afforded more time to work on it and to really get their teams playing to that tune as such, and that's not where we want to be.
Definitely. And even the defensive mark, to be honest, I didn't even know there was a defensive mark until they said it last week. I think it was at a training session.
Exactly. It was the same with myself. I didn't even realise until last Saturday that there was a defence.
Yeah, because
which is absolute bullshit, to be honest.
Yeah, because I'd say the problem, I don't know, you can imagine they're trying a case of, oh, well, we're giving so much to the attackers, maybe we should give something to the defenders to reward them. But if a man beats a forward to a ball, he's probably not going to just stand up. He's going to want to power on because he's got the momentum to keep running. Like, it's very obvious that they're going to stop unless they're trying to wind the game down, or if a high ball comes in the keeper, he might call a mark because he's under pressure or something. Yeah.
Well, if you're a player, I think that long term it could probably run the risk of more injuries, because if you're a player running at full force, full speed, and you're coming out to make a mark, and then you have to suddenly stop,
Yeah.
to either determine that you want to take that mark. I think it could run into knee injuries, cruciate injuries, whatever it may be, and it's something that the GA have to certainly look at. Is if it's something that they want to stay with or keep it. You know, there has been high profile people coming out and speaking against it. Tomas O'Shea in particular, speaking against these marks, and I fully agree with what he's saying. I don't think, you know, we're looking at hurling, for instance. Hurling is played at a high tempo, and they're allowed to play at a high tempo and high speed, and there's not too many rule changes in it on a yearly basis. But why are they continuously amending the rules in Gaelic football, and slowing the game down and making it more and more each year to be looking like Australian rules? And I just think we're forgetting the fact that Gaelic football should be a fast-paced game, played at speed, played on the turn. You know, a forward's instinct should be to get the ball and to take a defender on and try to create a scoring opportunity. A defender's instinct should be to try to stop the forward getting the ball and driving out, breaking tackles and laying the ball off. And that's the way the game should be played. It shouldn't be played at making a catch and then stopping and slowing the pace of the game down.
Definitely. How long do you give these rules? Do you think they're going to be, will they last until next year?
Hopefully not. I hope that they are going to be done away with. And if not, you know, if not this year and they're still about next year, what we're going to see will be a game where, you know, there'll be maybe 20 points in the game, but 16 or 17 of those points come from marks, and that's the long-term disadvantages to this, Mark. Once the coaches and managers fully get in line and in tune with coaching their teams to play that way, that's what we're going to end up seeing, instead of, you know, the normal, which should be now 20 points being scored and maybe 16 or 17 of those points coming from play.
Definitely, yeah, and it's going in a way that everyone has to be a free taker as well. You have to be able to
exactly
in some way, regardless of on the field.
You know, you could find a cornerback up in the attacking end of the field, which I have absolutely no problem with, but making a mark and, you know, his teammates not having the confidence in him to be able to kick the ball over the bar. But you know, there is a pass to be allowed now, which probably helps teams that think a wee bit faster as well. But most time, and not every player is up to speed with this as well, and I wasn't up to speed with it until once again last weekend. I thought once you received an attacking mark that you had to opt for shooting only, and I've been told and made aware since then that, you know, you're allowed to pass the ball. So
yeah, it's hard to know how it'll play out. I suppose the first few games will tell us. Like I can't imagine going to a club game or playing a club game where there's going to be a mark called and more than 5 points got off it. Some teams will try and play it into their hands if they've got a 6'5" full forward. You know, they'll try and work it with him. But I can't imagine it working too well.
Yeah, well, listen, good defenders will know how to break the ball away. And I go back to the Railway Cup game that I spoke about actually in Croke Park. It was actually ourselves against Munster. It wasn't against Leinster. It was Munster, and Kieran Donaghy was full forward. He was running riot for the first 10 minutes, and we ended up putting Conor Gormley in and Kieran Donaghy at full back. And every high ball that came in, Conor just got up and broke it, and the Ulster players surrounded Kieran, picked up the possession and you know, went on the attack. And good quality full backs and cornerbacks will know, you know, if it's a big man coming in and break the ball, don't try to compete with them in the air because you won't have a chance, but you have a chance of breaking the ball. And that's exactly how he played it. He played it a very smart game that night, and that's what you do against the big full forward. And you're not going to break every ball. They might catch the odd one, but you know, if teams think that it's a case of putting a 6'3" or 4" guy on the edge of the square and lumping ball into him, they're mistaken.
Yeah. We'll move on now. We do a bit of a quick fire style questions now. I have them down here on the phone. First one is always your favorite pair of boots that you ever wore. If there's one pair that you could just say keep making them for the next however many years.
Yeah, I think I'm in line with saying, and most people in the country will agree with this, Predator Manias were a fantastic boot. you know, if only they would bring them back. I think you can maybe get them online now at the cost of £300 or £400, but we bit extortionate, but definitely a quality football boot.
Yeah, I bought a pair. There's a lad, I think is he up in Derry? I'm not sure. He does buy them in. I don't know where he buys them in from, but they're like cheap sort of remakes. They're like €100 or something. And
right.
I've seen a few lads have them, and a few lads have had them before. But the lads whose boots last longer, they're usually goalkeepers, and the lads who use them that are outfielders might last them a month or two. So you can tell what
Yeah, it's hard to beat the real thing.
Yeah, they have to be kept well too as well.
Have to be kept well, yeah.
Exactly. The next question then. So you had, as we said, the All-Ireland win in 2002. If there was one player from any other county at that time that you could bring into that Armagh team, who would it be?
At that time, listen, I've always been a huge fan of Benny Coulter. I've played with him long enough in terms of the internationals and Raven Cup, and he's a fantastic player. I've always wished and said that I wish he was from Armagh. He was a fantastic player. He great ability to, you know, fetch balls from the sky, but great attacking instinct and a great player to get a goal as well. And probably Benny Coulter would be the one player back then that I would say I would love if he was part of the Armagh squad.
Spot on. Your favourite Armagh jersey?
Actually one I got last week sent to me, which is the retro one, the new retro jerseys out by Masita.
I saw them actually.
Yeah, fantastic one. It's an orange jersey with the white stripes going across it. Armagh wore it back in 89, 90 time. So, and that's when I was maybe 10 or 11 years old. So, fantastic jersey. I think they will generate a lot of sales in the coming months, and that would certainly be up there with my favourite Armagh jerseys of all time.
I mean, the retro jersey market's kind of getting a bit of a spike in now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great to see. There's a few retro jerseys that I would love. I always loved the Meath jersey, the one with the checks, the squares in the middle of it as well, around probably late 80s time as well. And something that I liked about it, and I think Masita again have brought it out. So there is definitely a market for it now. Retro jerseys, whether it's soccer jerseys or Gaelic jerseys, they're I suppose a fashion item now, and people will wear them probably a lot faster than what they would wear a regular jersey. I would wear a retro jersey, but I wouldn't wear a regular jersey at all. Yeah,
there's I don't know, especially with the soccer jerseys now, there's a few dodgy ones that are flying around. Actually, the Gaelic jerseys, I actually love this one because I think the design is nice on it, but I don't like the cuffs on the sleeves. They're awful tight. That's the annoying thing. Even with the retro soccer ones, I picked up one there 2 weeks ago. I'm waiting for it to come now. It's the United one from the mid-90s. It's like half green, half yellow. Do you know the one?
You've just disappointed me there saying that you're a United man.
You look like Liverpool man.
Oh, I'm a Liverpool man, that's for sure.
I was going to say, I was thinking, did I see it up on your Instagram after they won the league? And I was thinking, I can't bring it up.
That's the jealousy in you guys now at the minute, you see.
It was a turn now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got that United jersey, so I'll have to. It's a pity now we couldn't done this in a week or two. I would have worn it for you.
Yeah.
Our next question there is sporting icons. So I'll let you pick one GA player that you would have looked up to and one other sporting player, whether it be soccer, tennis, basketball, whatever.
Yeah. The one GA player, I suppose, when you're growing up, you always pretend to be a player in your garden or when you're down in the field practicing. And for me, the one player that I always admired and loved watching was Jack O'Shea from Kerry, probably one of the most iconic midfielders of all time. And you know, I was running around toe tapping the ball in the backyard and shouting out Jack O'Shea on the ball, whatever, and he kicks it over the bar. But thankfully, then 10 years ago, 2010, when I was the captain of the international rules, Anthony Tohill, who was the manager, brought Jack O'Shea in to present us with our jerseys, and it was brilliant. I've met Jack numerous occasions, but that was a special occasion to meet and get him to present the team with our jerseys, and that was a unique time for me and a fantastic memory and moment.
Brilliant. And your other sporting icon?
Listen, there's I suppose lots of sporting icons. You know, being a Liverpool fan, I grew up watching the likes of John Barnes and players like that. There, I loved how he played football. He was a very skillful player, scored brilliant goals. You know, Steven Gerrard, a Liverpool fan as well. You know, fantastic Liverpool player. Then other sports, you have to obviously have the outstanding candidates, Muhammad Ali, Michael Jordan, people like that there. But probably the one that sticks out in my mind most would be Michael Jordan. I think, you know, in terms of clutch moments and massive games, he always produced the goods. And you know, for any young player looking at that, there has to be, you know, has to be inspiring for them. But you know, when the chips are down, you know, coming up at the goods time after time, it's something that you can only learn and gain from the hours upon hours of work that you put in the training field.
Yeah, I only watched the Last Dance there, was it 2 weeks ago myself, and it really gives you an insight into what he was capable of.
Yeah. I watched it a few, I suppose, when I was released first, and you know, it definitely gives a good insight. Some people say he comes out the wrong end in terms of his selfishness and his desire to be successful, but at the end of the day, you know, if you have that will to win and the desire to be successful as bad as what he has, you know, you're going to be certainly you'll I suppose annoy others around you by having that type of tunnel vision.
Spot on. Sorry, no, a bit of a dry throat. The last of the quick fire questions now, in terms of characters and pranksters on inter-county teams or club teams. There's been a few good stories so far. I think Barry John Keane told one about the O'Shea's putting fish in somebody's car, and Matty Donnelly told a story about some of the Tyrone players tying was the kit man's shoelaces to the seat in his car and he couldn't get out for a game or something. I'll have to look back and see. But you've obviously played with some brilliant characters in the GA, in the early stages and the later stages of your career. In terms of, I suppose, if you can pick one overall nutter, I suppose you call him a prankster and the best prank that they pulled as well.
Well, I wouldn't say as such that he's a prankster, but he's an absolute messer and joker, Benny Tierney. What a character he is! A brilliant character around the dressing room. You know, full of laughs and jokes, and he really can tell a good story as well. And you know, Benny is a specialist now at after dinner speaking, and you know, I've known Benny a lifetime, and it's the way he tells them. He's a smart-witted character that is able to tell a good yarn, and he always has the audience in front of him in fits of laughing. And he was a really good character to have, you know, when you're, I suppose, driving down Jones Road preparing for a serious game. He always kept the mood light-hearted, so he did. But good character Benny was. I suppose when you're thinking of pranksters and jokes, you know, when I went back and retired from inter-county player, I played for the club for a couple of years. We had a successful season in 2012, but one of the guys cycled up to the training pitch all the time, and there was 2 or 3 of the lads absolutely tortured him the whole season long by taking the wheels off his bike, you know, unlocking the chain and maybe locking the bike somewhere else, putting it on the roof of the changing rooms. He was absolutely tortured, so he was. So you know, that's things that you actually miss, the dressing room banter and things he got there. And you know, he just kept coming back for more. He didn't give in, and you know, the whole campaign, you know, every training session he was still back with his bike, and whether it was the boys letting his tires down, he just kept coming back for more, and loved every bit of it. And you need that type of I suppose character around the place as well.
Yeah, is that nearly that playground sort of stuff that is the best crack to have in a team anyways. It's good for, like, as you said, sort of breaking the ice and them
yeah,
as you said, leading up to Jones Road and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.